Hey guys, tonight we venture into a myth that's all about dreams, immortality, and challenging the gods themselves. Picture it. You're standing at the edge of a cliff, the wind tugging at your hair, the scent of salt in the air, and before you, a vast, uncharted ocean, the sky, a perfect mix of deep oranges and reds, the kind that makes you feel like anything is possible. It's a moment you'd want to savor, right? But here's the kicker, not alone. Beside you stands a mortal man, just like you, but there's something different about him. He's been dreaming, and those dreams, they aren't just ordinary ones. No, this man has dreams of immortality. He wants to live forever, to be like the gods, to never feel the weight of time. You can almost hear him muttering to himself, eyes wide with wonder and a bit of desperation. What if I could be like them? What if I could be eternal? You probably won't survive this. By the way, dreams like these tend to go awry. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, drop a comment about where you're from and what time it is. Let's see who's staying up with me tonight. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Our story begins with a mortal man, let's call him Pyrrhos. Pyrrhos isn't your average mortal. He's got big dreams, the kind that make even the gods blink in surprise. You know, the usual immortality, eternal glory, maybe a few worlds under his control. But how does a mortal, someone with nothing more than human flaws and a limited lifespan, even entertain such a wild idea? He starts with dreams. These aren't your typical, I forgot my homework kind of dreams. No, these dreams are vivid, full of color and emotion, filled with whispering voices and flickering visions of gods sitting on thrones, dressed in gold, eyes glowing with ancient power. And every time Pyrrhos wakes up, his heart races, filled with a yearning he can't quite explain. After all, who wouldn't want to live forever? Who wouldn't want to challenge fate itself? You've probably thought about it. To what would it be like to never get older, to not feel the weight of time? Pyrrhos, in his quiet desperation, believes he's found the secret. He's convinced the gods have somehow given him a sign, a cosmic nod to say, yes, Pyrrhos, you can have what you desire. The only thing left for him to do, ask, well, more like demand. The problem with asking the gods for immortality, though, is that they're not exactly known for handing out favors like it's Christmas morning. To them, immortality is a rare, precious thing, something only a select few get to keep. What Pyrrhos doesn't realize, though, is that immortality doesn't always come in a shiny, neat little package. No, the gods have a way of twisting things, of giving you exactly what you asked for, but not what you wanted. But Pyrrhos, in his youthful arrogance, doesn't know that yet. He believes he's found the way to unlock the gates of eternity. Pyrrhos prepares. He spends hours alone in his room, whispering his wish to the night sky, as if the wind might carry his voice up to Olympus. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But one thing is certain. Pyrrhos isn't going to let anything stop him from finding the gods. He decides to journey to the heart of Olympus itself, the seat of all divine power. He knows that if he stands before Zeus, he can make his case. Why wouldn't Zeus, king of the gods, listen to him? It's not a totally outlandish thought. In fact, one might argue that Pyrrhos is not entirely alone in his quest. Many mortals have aspired for immortality over the centuries, some in more subtle ways, like through great deeds or through their children's legacy. Others, like Pyrrhos, go directly to the source, and Olympus, towering above everything else, holds the answers, or so Pyrrhos believes. As Pyrrhos begins his ascent up the steep, rocky path toward the peak of Olympus, you might think he'd pause to consider what he's about to do. After all, this isn't just any mountain. It's the realm of gods, the very place where even the greatest heroes have faltered. But Pyrrhos is young, his mind clouded with the bright promise of immortality. He climbs higher, determined, oblivious to the challenges ahead. He ignores the crumbling rocks beneath his feet, the echoing silence that seems to call out warnings. He's too focused on the summit. He imagines the gods sitting there, waiting for him, their faces shrouded in mystery, power radiating off them like sunlight off a polished mirror. Pyrrhos, as you can guess, doesn't think about the dangers of meddling with beings who are so far beyond him. But this is part of the problem with mortals and immortality. They tend to forget their place. You can almost picture Pyrrhos now, standing at the foot of Olympus, the great mountain looming before him like an ancient titan. You might even wonder, would you have done the same thing? Would you have had the courage or the foolishness to climb such a mountain, to stand face to face with immortals? Pyrrhos, though, isn't worried. He has his dream, his wish, and that's all he needs. The climb isn't easy, far from it. The rocks cut into his skin, and the air grows thinner the higher he climbs. But he's determined. He doesn't pause for rest. He doesn't stop to take in the view. It's not about the journey. It's about the destination. And then finally, he reaches the top. The view from Olympus is breathtaking. The world below seems so small, so fragile. It's hard to believe that this tiny speck of earth is where he came from, where his dream began. As he steps onto the peak, Pyrrhos looks around, searching for the gods, for the answers he's been seeking. But there's no grand, golden throne room waiting for him. No immediate signs that he's reached the right place. For a moment, he's just there, alone. And then, from the shadows, a voice calls out to him. It's deep, booming, full of power, and unmistakably divine. Pyrrhos, why have you come? The voice shakes the air around you, vibrating deep in your chest, as if even the mountain itself is watching with bated breath. It's an impossible question. You glance around, but there's no one in sight. No gods sitting on thrones of gold. No grand temples with columns reaching to the heavens. Just the vast empty expanse of Olympus, stretching far beyond the horizon. And yet, the voice speaks again, louder this time, commanding and omnipotent, as if it can pierce through your very soul. Pyrrhos, why have you come? For a moment, you freeze. The cool wind ruffles your hair, and the silence between each word feels like it could stretch on forever. It's as though you've wandered into the heart of a forgotten dream, one you didn't quite mean to visit. Pyrrhos stares into the distance, trying to find the source of the voice, searching for any sin that might explain this encounter. His heart races, thumping wildly in his chest. He's climbed to the top of Olympus, ready to make his case before the gods. He's ready to ask for immortality, to claim his place among the eternal. But here, at the peak of Olympus, he's greeted with nothing but this voice. And it's a voice that doesn't offer answers. It demands them. Pyrrhos, still shaken, gathers himself, the words finally spilling from his mouth. Hesitant at first, then growing stronger with each passing second. I've come to ask for immortality, he declares, his voice echoing against a vast emptiness. I want to live forever. I want to be like the gods. I want to never age, never die. Please, grant me this gift. As you listen, you might feel a sense of both awe and dread creeping in. After all, who among us hasn't wondered what it would be like to defy the natural order, to escape death's inevitable grasp? Pierrot's isn't so different from the rest of us in that way. His desire for immortality is a common one, and perhaps, deep down, you can relate. But as the words leave his lips, the voice falls silent for a moment. A heavy silence that fills the air, making the world around you feel even more isolated, more distant. Pierrot begins to wonder if he's made a mistake, if his boldness will lead to his undoing. Maybe the gods aren't listening. Maybe they're mocking him from afar. And then, without warning, the voice returns, but this time it carries a hint of amusement. You wish to live forever. The voice booms, a light chuckle echoing behind the words. Do you truly understand what you were asking for, mortal? Do you know what it means to be immortal? Pierrot, flustered and a little taken aback, stammers, I want to be like the gods, to have power, to be free of time's cruel hand. I want to be eternal, too. Never die, to always be as I am. The wind picks up around him, swirling in an almost playful manner, tugging at his cloak. The mountains seem to sigh in the background, as if the earth itself is watching this conversation unfold. But you do not know what you are asking for. The voice replies, more serious now. Immortality is not a gift, it is a burden. You see, mortal, the gods are eternal, yes, but their eternity is not one of joy. It is a curse, a weight that presses down on us with every passing moment. Pierrot feels a shiver run down his spine as the words sink in. The gods immortal and untouchable carry their own kind of sorrow. Do you think we are free, just because we cannot die? The voice continues, soft but piercing. Do you think that immortality will bring you happiness, that it will erase all suffering? No, Pierrot, it is not that simple. The air grows colder, and the weight of the voice's words presses down on Pierrot's chest, making it hard to breathe. He thought he knew what immortality would be like. He thought it would be endless glory, endless pleasure. But now, standing at the top of Olympus, face to face with the gods, or, at least, with the disembodied voice of one, he begins to question everything. Maybe he's made a terrible mistake. Maybe immortality isn't what he thought it would be. So, what do you offer me, then? Pierrot asks, his voice trembling slightly. What is the price for immortality? The voice pauses, and for a moment, Pierrot wonders if it will respond at all. The wind continues to whip around him, but there is no answer, only the stillness of the mountains. It's as if the gods themselves are waiting for something, waiting for him to understand. Perhaps, and then the voice speaks once more, its tone gentle now, almost soothing. What I offer you is not immortality in the way you imagine it. What I offer is a glimpse into eternity. A gift, yes, but one that comes with its own price. You will live, Pierrot. You will live for as long as the gods deem fit. But remember, mortal, even the gods do not control their own fate. The same will be true for you. Pierrot listens, a sinking feeling growing in the pit of his stomach. What is the price of eternity? What is the cost of living forever, especially when you don't know when it will end? Before he can ask any more questions, the wind dies down and the voice falls silent again. Pierrot stands there at the peak of Olympus, alone with his thoughts. The moment stretches on, and he realizes that the gods are not about to simply give him what he wants. No, they are offering something far more complex, far more dangerous. Pieros has to make a choice, but he can't even see the full scope of the decision before him. Immortality, it seems, is not a clear path. It's full of unknowns, full of shadows and uncertainty. You might wonder what you'd do in Pieros' shoes. Would you still want immortality, knowing what it might cost? Would you risk everything for a chance to defy death, or would you walk away, content with the time you have? Pieros, despite his uncertainty, still believes that he can control his fate. He's made it this far, after all, hasn't he? But the gods know better. They always do. And so, Pieros is left with a decision he can't yet fully grasp. His dream of immortality might be closer than ever, but at what cost? Pieros stands at the peak, the silence pressing in around him like a heavy blanket, making it harder to breathe. He's unsure whether the gods are still listening, or if this is some kind of test. The wind has stopped, leaving the air strangely. Still, the vastness of Olympus looms, silent, ancient, and intimidating. For a brief moment, Pieros wonders if he's made a huge mistake. After all, what does he truly understand about immortality? What does he know about living forever, truly existing in the realm of gods? These thoughts swirl in his mind, but he pushes them aside. The yearning, the hunger for what he desires, outweighs the fear. He's come too far to turn back now. His dream of immortality is within his grasp, and no voice, no matter how divine, can stop him from pursuing it. Or so he tells himself. The gods, if they are still listening, seem content to let him stew in his doubts. They don't rush him. Instead, they allow the moments to stretch on each second like an eternity. Pieros' heart beats faster, his mind racing as he tries to figure out what he's supposed to do next. It's clear the gods aren't just going to hand him immortality. He isn't going to walk away with a magical potion or a divine blessing in a nice, neat package. No, this is something far more complicated. Pieros knows that now. The gods, with all their power and wisdom, are telling him that immortality is no simple gift. They've made him realize that immortality is not just an endowment of power. It is a weight, a burden, one that he's not sure he can carry. Still, the temptation is great as Pieros stands there, contemplating. A new voice breaks the silence, a whisper, soft at first, barely audible. You seek immortality, it says, almost as if the air itself is speaking. Pieros turns, searching for the source, but sees nothing. No sign of the gods, just the rocky terrain, the distant sky, and the long, lonely path that leads back to the world below. Do you truly think you can carry the weight of eternity? The voice continues, this time clearer, more present. It's a question, but it feels more like a warning, a challenge, a riddle wrapped in a puzzle. Pieros feels the hair on the back of his neck rise, as if the very earth beneath his feet is alive, watching him. Who are you? Pieros calls out, his voice strained, but his resolve hardening. Are you a god? Speak to me, for a moment. There's nothing but silence again. Pieros' breath comes in shallow gasps, his body tensed, ready to face whatever this strange new voice represents. Is it an ally, a god, or something else entirely? Then, just as quickly as it started, the voice answers him. I am not a god, it replies, its tone almost amused. I am a reflection of your own desires, your own doubts. I am the echo of what you want, and the shadow of what you fear. Pieros blinks, taken aback. This isn't what he expected. He had imagined that the gods would speak to him directly, would either offer him what he wanted or deny him. Instead, he's talking to something different, something more abstract, something he can't fully comprehend. If you are a reflection of my desires, Pyrrhus begins cautiously, then why not just give me what I want? Why not give me immortality? The voice chuckles softly, the sound like wind brushing through the leaves of a distant tree. Because Pyrrhus, it says, immortality is not a simple thing. It is not a gift that can be given without consequence. It is not a shiny, glowing trinket to wear proudly. It is a weight that you will carry for as long as you live. Do you understand that? Do you understand that even the gods are burdened by their own immortality? Pyrrhus' mind races as the voice's words sink in. He's heard the stories. The gods, even with all their power, are not free. They are trapped in their eternal existence, forced to watch as time moves on and the world changes around them. They are bound by their own immortality, unable to escape the weight of their endless lives. And the more he thinks about it, the more Pyrrhus begins to question his own desires. Was immortality truly the answer? Would it bring him the peace and glory he craved? Or would it trap him in a never-ending cycle of longing, regret, and loneliness? But still, the desire burns within him. Pyrrhus can't shake it. He has come so far, climbed this impossible mountain, stood at the edge of Olympus, and now the gods themselves are telling him he can't have what he wants. The irony isn't lost on him. He's standing at the peak of the gods' domain, and yet he's still being told he's not worthy. Still, Pyrrhus refuses to back down. I don't care about the weight, he says, his voice steady now, his resolve hardening again. I don't care about the consequences. I want immortality. I want to be like the gods. I've made my choice. The silence stretches again, and for a moment, Pyrrhus wonders if he's said too much, if the gods will punish him for his defiance. But the voice responds once more, this time with a finality that cuts through the air. Then you shall have it, it says, and Pyrrhus feels his heart leap in his chest. But remember, Pyrrhus' immortality is a gift that does not come without cost. You will live forever, but you will never know peace. You will watch the world change around you, and you will be powerless to stop it. You will outlive your loved ones, your friends, your enemies. You will remain, and they will fade into the past. Do you truly want that? Pyrrhus stands there, his heart pounding, 1,000 thoughts racing through his mind. The voice has given him what he asked for, but at what cost? He doesn't know. All he knows is that the gods have spoken, and now his fate is sealed. Immortality is his, but will it be worth the price? Pyrrhus feels a wave of mixed emotions flood over him. The voice has spoken. The gods have granted him what he wanted, but at a cost. It's all so overwhelming. The weight of eternity now hangs over him, heavier than any burden he could have. Imagined, the gods promised him immortality, but they didn't promise joy, peace, or satisfaction. He knows it's coming, that feeling of endless existence that will stretch on forever. He can already picture it, watching the world change, watching those he loves grow old, while he remains exactly the same. There's no turning back now. The decision has been made. As Pyrrhus stands there, the realization hits him with the force of a lightning bolt. He has what he wanted, by immortality, but what he hadn't realized was how empty it would feel. He thought that being like the gods would bring him power, freedom, and happiness. But now, with the voice of the gods still echoing in his mind, he wonders if he made a terrible mistake. What does immortality even mean? Is it simply about existing forever? Or is there something deeper to it? Piros tries to imagine a life where time no longer has meaning, where every moment stretches on endlessly. He thinks about the gods, how they watch empires rise and fall, how they observe generations come and go. And what about them? Do they ever regret their immortality? Do they ever wish for the sweet release of time's embrace? These thoughts cloud Piros' mind as he stands alone on the peak of Olympus, his heart heavy. The gods have granted him what he asked for, but they haven't given him the tools to carry it. They've left him in the dark, without guidance. And now he must face the consequences of his wish, as Piros begins his descent from the peak of Olympus. The weight of immortality continues to settle over him. The world stretches out before him, wide, endless, and full of possibilities. The path he's walking seems to twist and turn, but each step feels more and more hollow. He knows what's ahead, and it's not the glorious life of the gods he imagined. No, this is different. This is the reality of immortality, a never-ending journey with no destination, no end in sight. As he moves forward, Piros wonders what his life will be like in the years to come. He's no longer just a mortal. He's something else, something beyond time, beyond death. But as he looks around, he doesn't feel powerful. He doesn't feel special. He feels lost. He wonders if the gods ever feel this way. He wonders if they too question the purpose of their endless existence. Days turn into weeks, and weeks into months, but time no longer matters to Piros. He is no longer bound by the same rules that govern the mortal world. And yet, despite his newfound immortality, he can't shake the feeling that something is wrong. He watches people, ordinary mortals, live their lives. They have families. They fall in love. They grow old together. They experience the full spectrum of human existence: joy, sorrow, loss, and growth. And he is left standing on the sidelines, unable to join them. He can't change the course of time, he can't stop death, and he certainly can't experience the warmth of a human life that has a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's all just a blur. The weight of eternity presses down on him like a suffocating fog one day, while wandering through a quiet village. Piros encounters an old man sitting on a weathered bench by the side of the road. The man is hunched, his hair and beard as white as snow, and his eyes are full of wisdom that comes only with age. Piros, despite himself, feels a pang of longing in his chest. The old man looks at him with a knowing smile, as if he can see straight through Piros' soul. Piros is taken aback, but he approaches the man, drawn by some unspoken connection. The man gestures for Piros to sit beside him. "What troubles you, young one?" the old man asks, his voice gentle yet strong. Piros hesitates, unsure of how to explain the thoughts swirling in his mind. "I have everything I could ever want," he begins, his voice tinged with frustration. "I've been granted immortality. I've become like the gods, but now I don't know what to do with it. I'm stuck in a world that changes while I stay the same, and I don't know how to find meaning in it." The old man listens carefully, his eyes softening as he takes in Piros' words. After a long pause, he speaks again. "You seek meaning in the wrong places, my friend," he says slowly. "Immortality is not a gift to be sought for its own sake. It is not a power to wield for glory or fame. It is a curse that comes with its own weight, its own burden. The gods know this. That is why they are not quick to grant immortality to mortals. They understand that the price is high." Piros listens, the words sinking deep into his soul. The old man continues. Life is not about how long you live. It is about what you do with the time you are given. Mortals understand this far better than the immortals do. We have a finite amount of time, and that makes every moment precious. But immortality, the old man shakes his head. It strips away the meaning of time. It makes everything feel insignificant, because nothing ever truly ends. It is the absence of finality that makes life so beautiful. Without that, everything loses its purpose. Pierrot is silent for a long time, the weight of the old man's words settling heavily on his chest. He realizes, with a painful clarity, that immortality isn't what he thought it would be. He thought it would bring him power, glory, and freedom. But what he didn't understand was that it would bring him isolation, emptiness, and endless regret. The world he thought he was stepping into, the world of the gods, is not a world he can live in, not forever. And the reality of immortality is far more complicated than he ever imagined. As he sits there with the old man, Pierrot feels a sense of peace begin to settle over him. He doesn't have all the answers, but he understands now. Immortality is not the path to happiness. It is a heavy burden, one that he can never truly escape. And for the first time since his journey began, Pierrot feels the weight of his decision. Perhaps, in the end, the most powerful thing isn't immortality, it's the acceptance of mortality. The understanding that life, no matter how short, is precious because it comes to an end. The days blend together for Pierrot, his mind lost in thought as he wanders aimlessly through the world, struggling with the weight of his decision. The old man's words echo in his ears, growing louder with each passing moment. It is the absence of finality that makes life so beautiful. Pierrot had not understood that before, not in the way he does now. He had wanted immortality so badly, so desperately, convinced that it was the ultimate gift, the key to everything. But now, with the world continuing to change around him and his own existence stuck in a timeless loop, he begins to see it differently. He is trapped in a world of endless possibility, and yet it all feels so empty, so hollow. Nothing is finite. Nothing is urgent. It's as if every day has no meaning. He watches as mortal men and women live their lives falling in love, having children, building empires, growing old, and he realizes that the fleeting nature of their existence is what makes it all so meaningful. Their lives have purpose because they know their time is limited. And Pierrot, with his immortality, feels that his own life has become something else entirely. It's a strange kind of curse. One evening, as Pierrot sits alone on a hillside, gazing at the sun setting in the distance, he thinks about the gods again. He wonders if they ever feel the same way he does, if they, too, question the eternity they are bound to. He can almost hear the whispers of the gods in his mind, their laughter echoing through the ages, mocking him for wanting what they have. For they know better than anyone the price of immortality. What Pierrot has come to realize, painfully and slowly, is that immortality isn't a gift at all. It's an illusion, a tempting lie wrapped in gold. The gods, despite their grandeur and power, are no freer than he is. They, too, are trapped in a never-ending cycle of existence, condemned to watch the world shift around them while they remain unchanged. And now, Pierrot is one of them, immortal, yes, but bound to the same fate. The only difference is that he never asked for it the way the gods had. He thought it would be different. He thought it would bring him something more. But in the end, it's just another form of imprisonment as he sits there, the shadows growing longer with the fading light. Pierrot hears a familiar voice in the distance, calling his name. It's the voice of the old man, and this time it doesn't feel like a passing thought or a figment of his imagination. No, this voice feels real, like the wind itself is speaking. Piros stands and turns around, and there, once again, is the old man, standing on the edge of the hill, his face calm, his eyes filled with knowing. "You've been thinking about it," the old man says gently, stepping closer. "About what immortality really means. It's not what you imagined, is it?" Piros doesn't answer right away. He's not sure what to say. He feels both lost and enlightened at the same time. "No," he finally admits, his voice quiet. "It's not. It's nothing like I thought it would be." The old man smiles, a soft, understanding smile. "It never is," he replies. "That's the nature of immortality. It's a longing for something you can never truly attain. A never-ending hunger for what doesn't exist." Piros looks at the old man, his eyes searching, wondering if there's something more he can learn. "Is there a way out?" he asks, his voice laced with a mix of desperation and hope. "A way to stop this? To end it?" The old man shakes his head slowly, his gaze distant, as if he's seen this before. "You can't undo what's been done," he says softly, "but you can choose how to live with it. The choice is always yours, Piros. You can live forever, but you must make peace with it. You can either continue to fight against time, or you can find a way to live within it, even in its absence." Piros feels a knot form in his stomach as the old man's words settle in. He's heard them before, in different forms, from different voices, but now they feel real, more real than ever. His immortality is not something to be fought against. It's not a battle to win or lose. It's simply a part of who he is now, for better or for worse. "What do you mean?" Piros asks, his voice shaky. "How can I live within it? How can I find peace with something that should never be?" The old man doesn't answer right away. Instead, he turns his gaze to the horizon, where the last traces of sunlight are slipping away. "You must learn to live for the moments that matter," he says quietly, "even if they are fleeting, even if you know they will fade away. It is the passing of time that gives each moment its worth. You must find your meaning in that." Piros listens carefully, the words slowly sinking into his soul. The old man is right, in a way. Time is precious because it's limited. The moments that come and go, those are what give life its meaning. But immortality steals that meaning. It steals the urgency. It makes everything feel like it will never end, and in that, it loses its significance. The sun has set now, and the world around Piros is bathed in the cool light of the moon. The old man places a hand on his shoulder, and for a moment, Piros feels something he hasn't felt in a long time: comfort. It's a fleeting feeling, but it's enough to make him realize something. He may be immortal, but he is not alone. Not completely. There are others in this world, others who understand the nature of time, and who know how to live within it. Piros doesn't have to carry the weight of immortality alone. He can find others, find meaning in the small things, the fleeting moments that make life worth living. "Thank you," Piros whispers, feeling the weight of the moment settle into him. "Thank you for showing me that." The old man doesn't say anything. Instead, he simply nods and begins to walk away, disappearing into the shadows of the night. Piros watches him go, his mind clear for the first time in ages. The road ahead is uncertain, but for the first time since his wish for immortality, Piros feels ready to face it. Immortality will always be with him, but now he understands that it's not the answer. it's not the key to happiness. The key lies in the moments he has, and in finding meaning in them. It's a hard lesson to learn, but Piros knows now that he must live with it, live for it. The moonlight casts a soft, ethereal glow over the landscape as Piros stands alone on the hillside, the echoes of the old man's wisdom still resonating in his mind. He has come to terms with the fact that immortality is not the gift he once thought it was, but that realization is a long way from peace. The weight of eternity still clings to him, and no matter how much he tries to shake it off, it lingers, a constant reminder of the decision he made. The world, vast and unyielding, stretches out before him, endless, boundless, and filled with endless possibilities. Yet Piros feels the walls closing in around him. He may have accepted his immortality, but that acceptance doesn't make it any easier to live with. His heart feels heavy, weighed down by 1,000 unanswered questions. How does one live forever? How does one find meaning in a life that seems to stretch endlessly, with no end in sight? These questions have no simple answers, and Piros finds himself searching for something, anything, that will give him purpose in this unending existence. As he walks through the quiet streets of a small village, Piros observes the lives of the mortals around him. They go about their business with a sense of urgency, their lives moving forward with a kind of purpose that he can only envy. They fall in love, grow old, have children, and then, eventually, they die. And it's that very finality, Piros realizes, that gives their lives meaning. Time is their most precious commodity. It is the one thing they can never get back. It's the reason they chase their dreams, make mistakes, love with abandon, and build legacies. For Piros, immortality has robbed him of that urgency, that fleeting nature of existence that makes every moment precious. It's a paradox. His immortality has rendered him incapable of living in the same way. The world moves around him, but he is still stagnant, a mere observer. He cannot truly engage with life the way others can, because there is no end to his journey, no final destination. He is stuck in the endless loop of his own existence, with no way to break free. The weight of this realization hits him hardest when he encounters an old woman sitting outside her cottage, her weathered hands deftly weaving a basket. Her face is lined with the marks of age, but her eyes still sparkle with life. Piros, for a moment, is captivated by the sight. She seems so alive, so full of purpose, even in the twilight of her years. He approaches her, drawn by an unexplainable urge, and watches as she works. "You're quite good at that," Piros says, offering a smile. The old woman looks up at him, her eyes narrowing slightly, as if appraising him. "I've had many years to practice," she replies with a grin, her voice warm but weathered. "The secret is not in the work, but in the joy of it. Each weave, each knot, is a part of something larger journey that only makes sense when you look back." Piros feels a pang in his chest. He knows, deep down, that he will never be able to experience the same thing. No matter how many years pass, he will never have the same sense of urgency or the same fleeting joy that this woman has. He will never look back and see the beautiful tapestry of his life. There will be no finality for him to appreciate. Moment when he can say, "This is it. This is the end of my journey." The woman pauses in her work and looks up at Piros, sensing something in his expression. "What is it that troubles you, young one?" she asks, her voice gentle but knowing. Piros hesitates, unsure of how to articulate the feelings that have been gnawing at him for so long. Finally, he speaks. I've been given immortality, he says, his voice low, but I don't know what to do with it. I've lived longer than I should, and yet I don't feel alive. I feel as though I'm stuck in a never-ending cycle, watching life pass me by without ever truly experiencing it. The old woman nods, her eyes reflecting a deep, quiet understanding. "Ah, I see," she says softly. "You have lived longer than most, and yet you have not truly lived at all. Immortality is a strange thing. It is a gift that comes with its own set of burdens. It is not the number of years you live that matters, but the way in which you live. Them, you cannot chase eternity, Pyros. It is not meant for mortals like you." Pyros listens intently, his heart aching as the woman's words cut to the core of his struggles. "But what do I do, then?" he asks, his voice filled with desperation. "How do I find purpose in a life that will never end?" The old woman sets her basket down, her hands stilling as she looks at Pyros, with a wisdom that comes from a lifetime of experience. "The answer is simple, Pyros," she says, her voice soft but firm. "You must learn to live in the moment. You must embrace the fleeting nature of time, even if it is not the same for you as it is for others. You must find meaning in the small things, in the people you meet, in the moments of beauty that surround you. Life is not about the number of years you live, but the quality of those years. It is about how you make use of the time you have, no matter how much or how little that may be." Pyros feels a sense of peace settle over him as the woman's words take root in his heart. For the first time in what feels like forever, he begins to understand. He cannot change his immortality. He cannot undo the decision he made, nor can he escape the weight it carries. But he can choose how he lives within it. He can choose to find meaning in the moments that come, to appreciate the fleeting beauty of the world around him, even if those moments are not his to keep forever. As Pyros stands there, watching the old woman return to her work, he feels a weight lift from his shoulders. The burden of immortality is still there, but it no longer feels like an insurmountable mountain. He has found a way to live within it, to find meaning in the small, everyday moments that make up his existence. The path ahead is still uncertain, but for the first time since his wish for immortality, Pyros feels a sense of hope. The journey is not over, and perhaps it never truly will be, but as long as he continues to live in the moment, he knows that he can find purpose even in a life that stretches on forever. In the days that follow his conversation with the old woman, Pyros begins to understand something deeper about immortality. He had always believed that living forever meant that time was his to control, that the world could bend to his will, that nothing could touch him. But now, after speaking with the woman, he realizes that immortality is not about control or invincibility. It is not about endlessly accumulating power or knowledge, as he once thought. Immortality, instead, is about learning to find purpose in the moments, to find meaning even in the absence of an ending. Time, Pyros begins to realize, is not a foe to conquer. It is a companion, a constant presence that cannot be escaped. He can't outrun it. No mortal can. But what he can do is embrace it, live with it, and find purpose in the finite moments that make up a life, even if that life never truly ends. Pyros's mind is slowly beginning to change, and though the weight of immortality still hangs over him, he feels lighter, less burdened by the hopelessness he once felt. He wanders from village to village, observing the lives of mortals as they move through their fleeting days. Their laughter, their struggles, their triumphs, all of it is so beautiful in its impermanence. Pierrot watches as people fall in and out of love, as they bury their dead, and as they celebrate new life. Each moment feels like a treasure, a fragile thing, and Pierrot envies them in ways he never thought possible. He envies their ability to live for today, to make each day count, knowing that the next one might not come. It is this very knowledge of time's limitations that makes their lives rich, Pierrot realizes, and it is the one thing that immortality cannot provide him, the knowledge that time is running out, that every second is precious. As Pierrot continues his journey, he encounters many who are like the old woman, wise, serene, and in tune with the world around them. There is a monk who lives high in the mountains, a man who has given up all earthly desires in search of inner peace. He talks to Pierrot about the fleeting nature of the human experience, about how to live in harmony with the world, to find joy not in the pursuit of immortality or power, but in the simple act of existing. There is a poet, too, who writes verses about love and loss, about the inevitability of change and the beauty that exists in the briefest of moments. Pierrot learns from them, listens to their words, and with each conversation he finds a little more peace. He begins to understand that immortality is not a curse, nor is it a gift. It simply is. It is part of who he is now, and it is up to him to decide how he will live with it. He cannot change his fate, but he can shape the way he lives within it. One night, as Pierrot sits by a quiet stream, watching the stars twinkle overhead, he reflects on his journey. He has come so far from the man who once sought immortality for the sake of glory and power. He has learned to accept his immortality not as a burden to bear, but as a part of his existence that can bring meaning if he chooses to embrace it. He watches the water flow by, each drop moving forward, never to return, and he finds himself at peace with the passage of time. Perhaps it's the realization that time does not belong to anyone, that it is constantly moving, always changing. That brings him comfort. Immortality, after all, is just another form of time. And just as the river flows endlessly, so too does his life. But unlike the river, Pierrot has the ability to choose how he moves within it. The wind picks up, rustling the leaves of the trees, and Pierrot closes his eyes, allowing the sensation to wash over him. It's a moment of quiet, a moment of stillness that he has not felt in centuries. For the first time in what feels like forever, Pierrot feels truly alive, and not because of his immortality, but because he is learning to live for the moments that come, for the fleeting moments of beauty and connection that he once overlooked. He is no longer trapped in his endless quest for something more. Instead, he is learning to appreciate what he has: his ability to experience life, to witness the world change, to feel the wind against his skin and the warmth of the sun on his face. He realizes that, in the end, it is not immortality that makes life worth living, but the moments that make it real, that make it meaningful. As Pierrot continues his journey, he encounters new people, sees new places, and experiences new things. But he is no longer driven by the desire for immortality. He no longer wishes for the endless life he once sought. Instead, he seeks meaning in the lives of others, in the fleeting beauty of the world, in the connections he forms along the way. He no longer needs to search for purpose outside himself, because he has found it in the simple act of living. Immortality is no longer a weight he carries, but a part of his existence that he has come to accept, to live with, and to find peace within. And though his journey is far from over, Pierrot knows now that he doesn't need to chase eternity. He simply needs to live for today, to find joy in the moments that come, and to accept the ebb and flow of time. Whether it is fleeting or eternal, the sun begins to rise, painting the sky with hues of pink and gold, and Pyrrhus watches the light spill across the land. For the first time in a long while, he feels ready for whatever comes next. His immortality is still a part of him, but it no longer defines him. He is no longer a man seeking eternal glory. He is a man learning to embrace the present, to find meaning in the here and now. And for the first time in centuries, Pyrrhus feels truly free. Pyrrhus feels the weight of time lifting from his shoulders. But it's not because he's escaped it, he hasn't. Rather, it's because he's learned how to carry it, how to exist within it without constantly fighting it. Time, he now understands, is not an enemy to defeat. It's not something to control or manipulate, not a finite resource to hoard. Time is a companion, one that moves relentlessly forward, carrying everything with it. And Pyrrhus is learning how to walk alongside it. The feeling of freedom that comes with this acceptance is liberating, and yet, it's not a freedom without responsibility. The more Pyrrhus reflects on his journey, the more he realizes that immortality is not a gift to be possessed, it is a state of being to be accepted. It's not about the endless pursuit of power or legacy. It's about learning to find joy in the fleeting moments that make up a life, even if that life stretches on forever. For the first time since he made his wish for immortality, Pyrrhus no longer feels isolated. He no longer feels like an observer, distanced from the world and its inhabitants. He has learned to engage with the world, to connect with those around him. He has found purpose not in the eternal, but in the present, the interactions he shares, the stories he hears, the laughter he shares with others. He learns to embrace the changing tides of life, the birth and death of ideas, the ebb and flow of human emotions, the quiet beauty in impermanence. Pyrrhus finds that his immortality has given him a unique perspective, a chance to witness the changes of the world in ways that no mortal could. He watches as civilizations rise and fall, as cultures shift, as the face of the world changes with every passing generation. Yet, despite this, Pyrrhus never feels like he is above it all. The world, with its chaos and beauty, is something he is a part of, not separate from. He walks through cities that rise from the ground, made of stone and glass, and he marvels at the ingenuity of humankind. He watches children grow, their laughter ringing through the streets, their dreams as wide as the sky. He listens to the stories of the old, their memories woven into the fabric of time, their lives full of meaning because of their impermanence. He sees love bloom in all its forms, and though he cannot experience it in the same way, he knows that love is one of the few things in this world that transcends time. But as the years pass, Pyrrhus learns that even immortality has its limits. It's not just the passing of time that he must come to terms with, but the changes within himself. Even with eternity ahead of him, he begins to realize that nothing stays the same, not even the gods. As the centuries pass, he notices his own thoughts shifting. He begins to feel different in ways he cannot quite explain. The things that once filled him with excitement and ambition now seem distant, less urgent. He no longer seeks power or glory, but rather a deeper connection with those around him, with the world he inhabits. The desire to conquer immortality has faded, replaced by a quiet longing for understanding, for peace, for harmony with time itself. And yet, with every change that comes to him, Pyrrhus cannot escape the feeling that something is slipping away. Perhaps it is his own humanity, the very essence of what it means to be mortal. Despite all the lessons he's learned, despite the acceptance he's found in his eternal existence. Pyrrhus cannot ignore the fact that time is still moving, still changing him in ways that even immortality cannot stop. One evening, as Pyrrhus sits alone on a hill overlooking the world below, a thought crosses his mind. He has lived through countless eras, seen entire civilizations rise and fall, witnessed the birth of new ideas and the death of old ones. But what happens when the world itself changes beyond recognition? What happens when time moves so swiftly that it becomes impossible to keep up? For the first time, Pyrrhus feels a flicker of fear. Fear not of death, but of losing touch with everything he has come to love. For the first time, he feels a sense of uncertainty about the future. Immortality, it seems, is not a guarantee of stability. Even the gods themselves must contend with the march of time, the shifting sands of existence. It's a humbling realization. Even as an immortal being, Pyrrhus cannot hold back time. He cannot prevent the world from changing. He can only learn to adapt, to find peace within the flux of existence. As the night stretches on, Pyrrhus reflects on the path he has taken. He remembers the man who once stood on the peak of Olympus, full of ambition and desire, certain that immortality would grant him everything he ever wanted. He smiles at the memory, not with regret, but with understanding. That man, that version of himself, was a part of who he was, but he is no longer the same. Pyrrhus has learned so much on his journey about immortality, about time, about himself. But the most important lesson he has learned is that life is not about seeking immortality, nor is it about defying time. It's about learning to live in the present, to embrace the fleeting moments, to understand that it is the impermanence of life that gives it its beauty. In the distance, Pyrrhus can hear the soft murmur of a nearby stream, the gentle rustling of leaves in the wind, and the distant calls of birds settling in for the night. The world is alive with sound, with movement, with change. And in this moment, Pyrrhus feels a deep sense of peace. He has accepted his immortality, not as a gift, but as a part of who he is. He understands that it is not the immortality itself that matters, but the way he lives with it. He can no longer hold on to the past, nor can he control the future. All he has is this moment, and for the first time in centuries, Pyrrhus is content. He is no longer seeking eternity. He has learned to live in the now, and that, he knows, is enough. Pyrrhus finds himself standing at the edge of the world once more, but this time his view is different. The world beneath him still spins, still shifts, but he no longer feels so detached from it. The mountains rise, the rivers flow, the trees sway with the wind. Everything is alive, moving, changing in a constant dance of time. And for the first time in what feels like centuries, Pyrrhus is no longer simply observing it. He's a part of it. He's learning to live with it, to move with it, and, in some ways, to even shape it. He no longer desires immortality for the sake of power or glory. No, those desires have long since faded. What he seeks now, what he craves, is understanding of his place in this vast, ever-changing world. Understanding of what it means to be eternal, and yet still so vulnerable. He has come to accept that immortality is not about control. It's about surrender. It's about knowing that, despite the eternity that stretches before him, he is still subject to the same forces that govern the world. Time is relentless. Change is inevitable. Even the gods cannot escape it. Pyrrhus used to think that immortality meant being free of all that. But now he sees that true freedom isn't about escaping the passage of time. It's about embracing it, moving with it, and finding peace in the impermanence of everything. As Pyrrhos wanders through the lands, he notices the subtle shifts in the world around him. He sees new generations of people growing, living, and building their lives. He watches as cities rise, only to eventually fade into ruins, and as new ideas emerge, only to eventually be replaced by others. He sees love blooming between young couples, families growing, and friends passing through seasons of their lives. The world, he realizes, is in a constant state of flux. It is ever-changing, ever-evolving, and immortality, as he now understands, it is not about resisting that change. It is about learning to flow with it, to adapt to it, and to find meaning in the process itself. For Pyrrhos, the world's constant changes are no longer a source of fear. They are a reminder that, even in his eternal existence, there is beauty in the way everything shifts and grows. He may not be able to stop time, but he can choose to live within it, to appreciate the ever-present motion of life. There is a sense of peace in Pyrrhos now, a quiet understanding that he never had before. He is no longer burdened by the weight of immortality. He doesn't long for death or fear the passage of time. Instead, he feels a deep, profound connection to everything around him, his eternal existence intertwined with the finite moments of the world. He now knows that immortality is not a curse, nor is it a gift to be coveted. It simply is. And in that realization, Pyrrhos finds a kind of freedom he never thought possible. The world will continue to move on, with or without him. But Pyrrhos has learned how to live in harmony with that movement, how to appreciate the beauty in each passing moment, and how to make peace with the eternal present that stretches out before him. The seasons change, as they always do, and Pyrrhos finds himself wandering through fields of golden wheat, watching the farmers work tirelessly to bring in the harvest. The wind carries the scent of the earth, rich and alive, and for a moment, Pyrrhos is reminded of the simplicity of life. He has seen empires rise and fall, watched as civilizations flourished and faded, and yet it is moments like these moments of quiet, of simplicity, that resonate most deeply within him. It is here, in the heart of the world's most mundane rhythms, that Pyrrhos finds his true understanding. He is no longer looking for glory or immortality or power. He has found something far more precious, the ability to simply be, to live in the present, to embrace the beauty of each passing second. As Pyrrhos continues his journey, he finds that his immortality has become less of a focus. It no longer defines him in the way it once did. Instead, it is just one part of the intricate tapestry of existence that he is learning to weave with each passing day. He no longer feels detached from the world, and he no longer feels like an observer of life. He is part of it, part of the flow of time, part of the ever-changing landscape of existence. The people he meets along the way, the relationships he forms, the moments he shares, these are what give his life meaning now. Immortality, in the grand scheme of things, no longer holds any appeal for him. It is not a goal to strive for, but a reality he must live with, and in that reality he finds peace. The world continues on, as it always will, and Pyrrhos has learned how to move within it, how to live with it, how to be a part of it without clinging to it. But even as Pyrrhos finds this peace, he knows that nothing lasts forever, even immortality. The world will continue to change, and so will he. He may be immortal, but he is not invincible. Time will eventually catch up with him in ways he cannot predict. And that, Pyrrhus realizes, is part of the beauty of existence. The impermanence of all things is what makes them meaningful. The fact that life will one day end, whether through death or through change, is what makes each moment worth living. And though Pyrrhus's immortality will never fade, he understands now that the essence of life is found in the very fact that it is fleeting, that it is temporary. He no longer wishes for immortality to save him from the passage of time. He has learned to live with it, to embrace it, and in doing so, he has found a kind of freedom that transcends the desire for eternity. As Pyrrhus stands on the edge of another sunset, watching the colors dance across the sky, he feels a sense of contentment wash over him. He may never be able to escape time, but he has learned to live with it, to make peace with it. He has found that immortality, in the end, is not about defying time. It is about living within it, appreciating the fleeting moments, and learning to see the beauty in the passing of time. Pyrrhus smiles, a soft, knowing smile, as he watches the stars begin to twinkle above him. Time continues to move forward, but for Pyrrhus, it no longer feels like something to fear. It's just another part of the journey, and he's finally at peace with it. As the centuries continue to unfold around him, Pyrrhus begins to notice the subtle changes in himself, in the world, and in the people he encounters. It's not the dramatic transformations that catch his attention. It's the small, almost imperceptible shifts that, over time, begin to accumulate into something larger. The faces of the mortals he meets blur together in his memory, like a collection of fleeting snapshots. Yet, each encounter, however brief, leaves an imprint on him, a reminder of how fragile life is, how every person carries with them a universe of experiences, dreams, and stories, all of which will one day fade away. Pyrrhus is no longer just a passive observer of life. He is learning, bit by bit, to weave himself into the tapestry of the world. He has stopped searching for meaning in immortality itself, and instead, he finds it in the people he meets, in the fleeting moments of connection, in the shared experiences of joy, sorrow, and love. For the first time since his wish for eternal life, Pyrrhus understands that immortality is not about avoiding loss. It's about living through it, embracing it, and finding purpose in the face of inevitability. Yet, even with all the wisdom he has gained over the years, there are moments when Pyrrhus still feels the weight of immortality press against him. It's a quiet pressure, a gnawing at the edges of his consciousness, reminding him that no matter how much he grows or changes, he is still bound by time in a way that no mortal can fully understand. He is immortal, yes, but that immortality is not the same as eternity. It's an existence that stretches on and on, but in doing so, it creates an unbridgeable distance between himself and the world he inhabits. He can watch the world change, watch people come and go, but he will never truly be a part of their journey in the same way. They will live their lives, small, fleeting, beautiful lives, and they will die, as all mortals must. Pyrrhus knows this, and though he has come to accept it, the isolation of immortality still clings to him in moments of quiet reflection. He no longer longs for the escape that death would bring. He no longer seeks to end his endless existence. But the longing to belong, to be part of something that has a beginning and an end, still lingers deep within him. One evening, as Pyrrhus walks through a small village, he encounters a young woman sitting on the steps of a cottage, her eyes fixed on the stars above. Her face is soft, full of curiosity, yet there is a sense of weariness in her expression, a sense that she has seen too much of the world too quickly. Piros approaches her, drawn by a force he cannot explain. She looks up as he nears, and for a moment they simply stare at each other, two souls meeting across the expanse of time. "What do you see?" Piros asks, his voice soft, intrigued. The young woman doesn't immediately respond. Instead, she turns her gaze back to the sky, her eyes searching the stars as if they hold the answers to questions she has yet to ask. "I see 1,000 worlds," she replies finally, her voice quiet but firm. "I see lives and stories and dreams. I see everything that has ever been and everything that ever will be. I see everything, and yet I understand nothing." Piros feels a strange tug in his chest at her words. There is something about her, something in the way she looks at the world, that resonates with him in a way he can't quite explain. It's as if she, too, is searching for meaning, for answers, to questions that have no clear answers. "You seek answers," Piros says, sitting beside her on the steps, looking up at the stars. "But the world is not meant to be understood. It is meant to be lived, to be felt. The answers we seek are not always found in the stars. Sometimes they are found in the moments we experience, in the people we meet, in the choices we make." The young woman glances at him, a flicker of curiosity in her eyes. "But isn't that the point?" she asks. "To understand, to make sense of it all." Piros pauses, reflecting on the question, then shakes his head slowly. "Perhaps," he says softly, "but I've learned that understanding isn't always the goal. Sometimes it's the living that matters more, the way we move through the world, the way we experience it. Life is fleeting, and that fleetingness is what gives it meaning. It's not about grasping the infinite. It's about finding purpose in the small, everyday moments." The young woman falls silent, contemplating his words. Piros wonders if she truly understands, if she can see the truth in what he is saying. He watches her, a sense of warmth spreading through him as he realizes that, in this small exchange, he has found something rare. He has found a connection, a shared understanding of the human condition, even if they both see it from different perspectives. Piros has lived through centuries, witnessed the ebb and flow of civilizations. But in this simple moment, with a stranger on the steps of a cottage, he finds a reminder that even immortality can be redeemed through connection, through the small moments that make life worth living. As they sit together in the quiet of the night, Piros feels the weight of his own immortality, not as a burden, but as a gift. Not a gift of eternal life, but of time itself, the time to experience the world, to learn from it, to grow and change, even as the world around him does the same. For the first time, Piros feels truly alive, not because he is immortal, but because he has learned to embrace the moments that make life meaningful. The stars above seem to twinkle in response, as if the universe itself is acknowledging his understanding. Piros smiles softly, feeling a peace settle within him that he hasn't felt in centuries. He may not be able to stop time, but he has learned how to live within it, how to appreciate it for what it is. The young woman stands, stretching her arms toward the sky, and Piros follows her gaze, his eyes tracing the constellations above. For a brief moment, they share a wordless understanding, a recognition of the fragile beauty of life. And as the night stretches on, Piros knows that he will never stop seeking the truth, the purpose that lies within the journey. But now he understands that it is not the destination that matters, is the journey itself, the moments along the way. Time will continue to pass, the world will continue to change, and Pyrrhus will continue to live. But now he has learned how to live with it, how to find meaning in the fleeting, precious moments that make up his existence. Pyrrhus's journey continues, but it's no longer driven by the same thirst for immortality that once consumed him. As the years slip by, as the world around him evolves, he comes to understand that what he's truly seeking isn't a way out of immortality, but a way to live within it. Time still passes, still carries the weight of endless days, but Pyrrhus has found something he didn't expect: peace. He now lives in the rhythm of the world, no longer wishing for what he cannot change, but embracing what is. He watches as people age, fall in love, and die. And while he still cannot experience their temporal journey, he now understands the beauty of their fleeting existence. In their mortality, they have something that he lacks: a beginning, a middle, and an end. And it's in those very limits that they find purpose. Pyrrhus no longer views himself as an eternal outsider. No longer does he see immortality as a curse to escape, nor does he long for the relief of death. He has learned to live with the eternal, to find meaning in the never-ending cycle of life. Even though he is not a part of it in the same way as Pyrrhus travels, he observes the ever-changing, the landscape of human civilization. He has lived through the rise and fall of empires, watched entire cultures fade into history, and yet there is something remarkably constant in human nature. People continue to love, to strive, to create. Even as the world shifts and morphs, humans remain bound to the same desires, the same needs, and the same struggles. Pyrrhus realizes that, in the grand scheme of things, it's not the greatness of a single life that matters, it's the way that life fits into the larger tapestry of the world. He has come to understand that his immortality, though it sets him apart from others, does not diminish the importance of the fleeting lives of those he encounters. In fact, it only serves to highlight the beauty of those lives. It is the impact of life, the knowledge that it will one day end, that gives it its deepest meaning. Pyrrhus, despite his immortality, understands this now, and for the first time, he feels a sense of belonging not in the world of immortals, but in the world of mortals. One day, as Pyrrhus finds himself walking through a bustling market in a city that seems both ancient and new, he pauses at a stall selling handmade pottery. The clay jars and vases on display are rough and imperfect, but they are beautiful in their own way. One unique, shaped by the hands of the artisan who made it. Pyrrhus runs his fingers over one of the pieces, feeling the texture of the clay, the small imperfections that make it one of a kind. The artisan, an older man with deep wrinkles etched into his face, watches him with quiet curiosity. It's the imperfections that make them special, the artisan says, noticing Pyrrhus' gaze. If you look closely, you'll see the marks of the hands that shaped them, the subtle flaws that make them unique. A perfect jar is a lifeless one, too smooth, too uniform. It's the marks of time, the marks of the maker, that give it meaning. Pyrrhus looks at the artisan, the words resonating deep within him. It's the same with life, the artisan continues. We are all shaped by the hands of time. We're imperfect, flawed, but that's what makes us real. It's those imperfections that give us our beauty. The cracks, the chips, they're what tell our story. Pyrrhus smiles softly, feeling a wave of understanding wash over him. He realizes that, just like the pottery, he too is shaped by time, by the experiences he has lived through, and by the choices he has made. His immortality does not make him perfect, makes him a witness to the imperfections of the world. And in that, he finds meaning as Pyrrhus continues on his journey. He encounters more and more people who remind him of this lesson. They are not immortal, they are not gods, and yet they live their lives with purpose, with intention, because they understand the fleeting nature of their time. They know that life is fragile, that it is precious because it is short. Pyrrhus, for the first time, truly grasps the depth of that truth. He may be immortal, but he has learned to live as they do, to embrace the moments, to cherish the fleeting beauty of life. He no longer seeks eternity for its own sake. He seeks meaning in the present, in the small, quiet moments that make up a life. But even as Pyrrhus finds peace, even as he comes to understand the meaning of his immortality, there are still moments when the weight of eternity presses on him. There are still moments when he longs for the simplicity of mortality, for the certainty that comes with knowing that life has an end. He watches as those he has known, those he has loved, age and pass on, their lives fading like stars at dawn. And in those moments, he feels the sting of his own immortality, his endless existence that keeps him tethered to a world that is always changing, always moving forward, but that he cannot truly be a part of. He will never age, never die. He will never experience the finality that gives life its depth. And yet Pyrrhus has come to realize that immortality is not a curse. It is simply another way of being. It is a path that comes with its own set of challenges, its own set of lessons. He does not need to fight against it anymore. He simply needs to accept it, to find peace with it, and to embrace the journey that lies before him. As Pyrrhus sits on the edge of a quiet river, watching the water flow by, he feels a sense of calm that he has not felt in centuries. The world continues to move, to change, to evolve, but he no longer feels the need to chase after it. He no longer feels the need to conquer time, to defy it. Instead, he watches it pass by, content in the knowledge that he is living, not for eternity, but for the present. His immortality is not something to fear. It is simply a part of who he is. And with that acceptance, Pyrrhus finally finds peace. Over time, Pyrrhus begins to embrace the reality of his immortality in a way that feels natural, even effortless. The years stretch on, yet he no longer fights against them. He has stopped searching for an escape, stopped longing for the release of death. Immortality has become a quiet companion, one that walks beside him as he moves through the world, no longer a burden but a part of him. Pyrrhus has come to understand that immortality doesn't mean ceaseless greatness or eternal power. It simply means the ability to watch life unfold in ways no mortal can. It means living without the certainty of an end, yes, but it also means bearing witness to the human condition in all its frailty and beauty. He has witnessed the passage of countless generations, the rise and fall of civilizations, the creation of art, the birth of love, and the loss of those he has known. The world moves, and Pyrrhus moves with it in changing, but not unfeeling. He has witnessed how the world holds a fragile beauty, the very impermanence of life giving it significance. And now, Pyrrhus has learned to find joy in that very impermanence. He is no longer an outsider, watching from a distance, but a participant in the great human story. The journey that Pyrrhus has taken, both in time and in spirit, has brought him to a place of peace. He no longer longs to be mortal, nor does he resent his immortality. It is simply what it is. He's come to see immortality not as a curse or a blessing, but as an experience, a journey that stretches over time, offering its own rewards and challenges. It's in the quiet moments of connection with others that Pyrrhus has learned to find meaning. He's found that the most beautiful things aren't the grand, world-shaping events, but the small, personal moments, the shared laughter with a friend, the smile of a stranger, the feeling of the wind against your skin. These are the things that make life meaningful, and immortality, for all its distance from time, has only made Pierrot more aware of that. He doesn't need to live forever to find meaning. He needs to live fully in each moment, whether it's a second or a millennium. One evening, Pierrot finds himself walking along a familiar path, the one that winds through the forest near a small village he once visited long ago. He remembers walking this same path centuries ago, the trees so young, the air so full of promise. The forest has changed since then. Of course, trees have grown tall, their branches now thicker, casting longer shadows. But Pierrot feels no sadness as he walks through it. There's no yearning for the past, no regret. He simply takes it in, feeling the cool air, hearing the rustle of the leaves. As he walks, he encounters a man and his young daughter gathering firewood by the edge of the path. The man looks up, surprised at first to see Pierrot, but then nods a greeting. Pierrot smiles and greets him back, and for a brief moment they exchange a few words, nothing of great importance, just the small talk of everyday life. But in those words, in that brief encounter, Pierrot finds something he has often overlooked in the past: connection. The man talks of his family, of how his daughter is growing up so fast, and how he worries about the future. His words are simple, but Pierrot listens intently. There's a depth in them, a shared humanity that doesn't need to be explained or overanalyzed. This man, like so many others, is simply living his life, doing his best, trying to make sense of the world. Pierrot watches as the man lifts the firewood, handing a small bundle to his daughter, who giggles with delight. Pierrot feels a quiet joy as he watches them, realizing that while he will never age, never experience the passing of time in the same way, he can still find meaning in these simple moments. The encounter with the man and his daughter stays with Pierrot long after they've parted ways. He walks the rest of the way through the forest, reflecting on what it means to be human, what it means to live a life without the guarantee of immortality. Pierrot no longer feels disconnected from the world. He no longer feels alone in his endless journey. Instead, he feels a deep sense of gratitude for the people he meets, for the connections he forms, and for the beauty he witnesses in each moment. Even though he is immortal, he knows that the true gift of life isn't in the number of days we have, but in how we live them. He knows that this journey, whether it lasts 100 years or 1,000, is worth living not for the promise of eternity, but for the experiences, the relationships, and the moments of peace along the way. As Pierrot emerges from the forest, he stands on a hill overlooking the village below. The sun is beginning to set, casting a warm golden light over everything. He watches as the village comes alive with the sounds of evening children laughing, fires crackling, voices calling out to one another. It's a beautiful sight, simple and peaceful, and for a moment Pierrot feels deeply at peace with it all. His immortality may set him apart, but it also gives him the gift of time, the ability to witness moments like these over and over again. It allows him to see how life continues, how love endures, how people persist in the face of time's passing. And in that, he finds a kind of peace, a quiet acceptance that has eluded him for so long as the evening settles into night. Pierrot feels the weight of centuries behind him, but it no longer feels oppressive. It's simply a part of who he is. part of the journey that he has taken. He knows now that immortality is not a gift to be coveted, nor a curse to be feared. It's a state of being, one that has taught him to cherish the fleeting moments, to embrace the changes of the world, and to find meaning in the simple act of living. The stars begin to twinkle above, and Pyrrhus, standing on the hill, looks up at them, his heart full of understanding. Time may pass, the world may change, and he may never experience the same kind of life that others do. But he has learned that the true value of life is not in its length, but in how fully we live it. The passage of time continues its unyielding rhythm, and Pyrrhus, though seemingly immune to its grasp, finds himself more attuned to its nuances than ever before. The days no longer drag on, stretching out like an endless expanse. Instead, they pass by in a cascade of quiet moments, each one meaningful in its own way. He has learned to see beauty in the impermanence of life, to appreciate the little things that so many overlook. The way the sunlight dapples through the leaves of trees, the sound of rain tapping against the roof, the laughter shared between friends. Time no longer feels like something that oppresses him. Instead, it feels like a precious gift, one that he has learned to embrace in a way he never could before. And yet, even as Pyrrhus walks through the world, with its ever-changing faces and landscapes, he still carries with him the weight of immortality, a weight that grows lighter with each passing year, but one that is always there, lurking in the background, reminding him that he is different, that he has seen more than any mortal should. He is a witness to history, a silent observer of the world's endless cycle of birth, growth, decay, and rebirth. He has watched empires crumble and rise from the ashes, civilizations long gone but not forgotten, their stories preserved in the whispered tales of those who still remember. Pyrrhus knows that no matter how many lives he witnesses, no matter how many faces pass him by, he will always remain unchanged. And yet, this truth no longer fills him with the emptiness it once did. In fact, it no longer fills him with anything at all. It is simply a part of who he is, a part of the eternal journey he has undertaken, and Pyrrhus has come to terms with that. He understands now that immortality is not a prison. It is simply a different way of existing in the world. It is not the endless, unbroken march towards some undefined future. It is the quiet acceptance of what is, of what has been, and of what will come. It is the peace of knowing that everything in life has its own cycle, its own rhythm, even if some of those rhythms stretch beyond the limits of time. There are still moments when Pyrrhus feels the ache of loneliness. It is a quiet feeling, like a distant hum in the background of his consciousness. It is not the kind of loneliness that comes from being physically alone, but rather the kind that arises from the knowledge that no matter how many people he meets, no matter how many friendships he forms, he will never truly experience life in the same way they do. He watches as children grow up, as they make friends, fall in love, and grow old together. He watches as families are torn apart by time, as people grieve the loss of loved ones. And he wonders, briefly, what it would be like to be one of them too. Experience time the way they do, to live with the certainty of an end, to know that life is finite and that each moment is precious because of it. But then he remembers that he has no such certainty. He is not bound by time, not in the same way they are. He is a constant, a presence that watches the world shift around him. And though he cannot share in the full experience of life, he has come to understand that there is still meaning to be found in his own existence. The quiet ache of loneliness is no longer something to fear. It is simply a part of him, a reminder that immortality is not about the absence of loss, it is about living with it, moving forward despite it. Pyros continues his journey, walking through the world with a sense of quiet purpose. He no longer seeks to conquer immortality or escape its grasp. Instead, he seeks understanding. He seeks connection. He seeks meaning, not in the promise of eternal life, but in the brief moments of beauty and connection that make life worth living, even when those moments are fleeting. One day, as Pyros walks through the streets of a bustling city, he notices a group of children playing in the square. They are laughing, chasing each other. Their faces are light with the joy of life. Pyros watches them for a while, captivated by their energy, their innocence. He watches as they run and shout, their voices carrying on the wind. And in that moment, Pyros realizes something he hasn't thought of in centuries. These children, these fleeting moments, are what make the world worth living in. Not the grand achievements, not the battles fought or the empires built, but the laughter of children, the warmth of a smile, the simple, everyday acts of kindness that bind people together. These are the moments that make life meaningful, that give it purpose. Immortality, Pyros understands now, is not about surviving through time, it is about living in it. Finding joy in the journey, no matter how long or short that journey may be. He watches as the children run past him, oblivious to the fact that their laughter is something he will never truly share. But that no longer bothers him. He smiles softly, watching them with a sense of peace. They are living in the moment, and that is enough. Pyros has learned to live in the moment too. He has learned to embrace the quiet beauty of life, the fleeting moments that make it so rich and meaningful. The sun sets slowly, casting a warm, golden light over the city. Pyros stands in the square, his heart full of understanding. Time will continue to move forward. The world will continue to change. But Pyros knows now that immortality is not about conquering time. It is about living with it, moving with it, and finding meaning in the moments that pass by. He may not be like the children who can grow up and experience the world with the innocence of youth, but he is no longer disconnected from them. He is no longer an outsider watching from the sidelines. He is a part of the world, a part of the rhythm of life, and in that, he finds peace. The stars begin to twinkle above, and Pyros feels a deep sense of contentment. His journey may be far from over, but he is no longer searching for a destination. He is living the journey itself, with all its uncertainties and imperfections, and that, he knows, is enough. The passage of time continues its unyielding rhythm, and Pyros, though seemingly immune to its grasp, finds himself more attuned to its nuances than ever before. The days no longer drag on, stretching out like an endless expanse. Instead, they pass by in a cascade of quiet moments, each one meaningful in its own way. He has learned to see beauty in the impermanence of life, to appreciate the little things that so many overlook. The way the sunlight dapples through the leaves of trees, the sound of rain tapping against the roof, the laughter shared between friends. Time no longer feels like something that oppresses him. Instead, it feels like a precious gift, one that he has learned to embrace in a way he never could before. And yet, even as Pyros walks through the world, with its ever-changing faces and landscapes, he still carries with him the weight of immortality, a weight that grows lighter with each passing year, but one that is always there, lurking in the background, reminding him that he is different, that he has seen more than any mortal should. He is a witness to history, a silent observer of the world's endless cycle of birth, growth, decay, and rebirth. He has watched empires crumble and rise from the ashes. Civilizations long gone but not forgotten, their stories preserved in the whispered tales of those who still remember. Pierrot knows that no matter how many lives he witnesses, no matter how many faces pass him by, he will always remain unchanged. And yet, this truth no longer fills him with the emptiness it once did. In fact, it no longer fills him with anything at all. It is simply a part of who he is, a part of the eternal journey he has undertaken, and Pierrot has come to terms with that. He understands now that immortality is not a prison. It is simply a different way of existing in the world. It is not the endless, unbroken march towards some undefined future. It is the quiet acceptance of what is, of what has been, and of what will come. It is the peace of knowing that everything in life has its own cycle, its own rhythm, even if some of those rhythms stretch beyond the limits of time. There are still moments when Pierrot feels the ache of loneliness. It is a quiet feeling, like a distant hum in the background of his consciousness. It is not the kind of loneliness that comes from being physically alone, but rather the kind that arises from the knowledge that no matter how many people he meets, no matter how many friendships he forms, he will never truly experience life in the same way they do. He watches as children grow up, as they make friends, fall in love, and grow old together. He watches as families are torn apart by time, as people grieve the loss of loved ones. And he wonders, briefly, what it would be like to be one of them too. Experience time the way they do. To live with the certainty of an end. To know that life is finite and that each moment is precious because of it. But then he remembers that he has no such certainty. He is not bound by time, not in the same way they are. He is a constant, a presence that watches the world shift around him. And though he cannot share in the full experience of life, he has come to understand that there is still meaning to be found in his own existence. The quiet ache of loneliness is no longer something to fear. It is simply a part of him, a reminder that immortality is not about the absence of loss, it is about living with it, moving forward despite it. Pierrot continues his journey, walking through the world with a sense of quiet purpose. He no longer seeks to conquer immortality or escape its grasp. Instead, he seeks understanding. He seeks connection. He seeks meaning, not in the promise of eternal life, but in the brief moments of beauty and connection that make life worth living, even when those moments are fleeting. One day, as Pierrot walks through the streets of a bustling city, he notices a group of children playing in the square. They are laughing, chasing each other. Their faces are light with the joy of life. Pierrot watches them for a while, captivated by their energy, their innocence. He watches as they run and shout, their voices carrying on the wind, and in that moment, Pierrot realizes something he hasn't thought of in centuries. These children, these fleeting moments, are what make the world worth living in. Not the grand achievements, not the battles fought or the empires built, but the laughter of children, the warmth of a smile, the simple, everyday acts of kindness that bind people together. These are the moments that make life meaningful, that give it purpose. Immortality, Pierrot understands now, is not about surviving through time, it is about living in it. Finding joy in the journey, no matter how long or short that journey may be. He watches as the children run past him, oblivious to the fact that their laughter is something he will never truly share. But that no longer bothers him. He smiles softly, watching them with a sense of peace. They are living in the moment, and that is enough. Pierrot has learned to live in the moment too, He has learned to embrace the quiet beauty of life, the fleeting moments that make it so rich and meaningful. The sun sets slowly, casting a warm, golden light over the city. Pyrrhus stands in the square, his heart full of understanding. Time will continue to move forward. The world will continue to change. But Pyrrhus knows now that immortality is not about conquering time. It is about living with it, moving with it, and finding meaning in the moments that pass by. He may not be like the children who can grow up and experience the world with the innocence of youth, but he is no longer disconnected from them. He is no longer an outsider watching from the sidelines. He is a part of the world, a part of the rhythm of life, and in that, he finds peace. The stars begin to twinkle above, and Pyrrhus feels a deep sense of contentment. His journey may be far from over, but he is no longer searching for a destination. He is living the journey itself, with all its uncertainties and imperfections, and that, he knows, is enough. The night is calm, the stars twinkling above, like silent sentinels watching over the world below. Pyrrhus has walked this path countless times before, yet tonight it feels different. He has seen so much, lived through so many moments that have come and gone, and he feels, for the first time in an eternity, as though he has finally found a sense of peace. He stands on the edge of a familiar cliff, looking out over the vast landscape, the rolling hills stretching out before him, the distant mountains fading into the horizon. The world is quiet now, as it always is at this time of night. The only sound, the soft rustling of the wind through the trees and the distant call of a bird settling for the evening. There is no rush, no urgency, just the peaceful stillness of the world in its natural state. Pyrrhus has learned to find comfort in this stillness, to accept the quiet moments as they come. The days of seeking glory, of chasing after immortality for its own sake, are long behind him. He no longer feels the weight of endless time pressing down on him, no longer feels the need to fill his eternity with accomplishments, with greatness. Instead, he has learned to appreciate the moments in between, the simple things that make life worth living, watching the sunrise, feeling the earth beneath his feet, listening to the laughter of children, the whispers of the wind, the quiet hum of life moving forward. He has stopped trying to make every moment monumental and started finding meaning in the ordinary. He understands now that immortality does not free him from the passage of time. It simply gives him more of it to experience, more moments to cherish, more chances to learn and grow. Pyrrhus has seen the world change in ways he never could have imagined when he first stood at the foot of Olympus, seeking the gods' favor. He has watched entire civilizations rise and fall, witnessed the birth of ideas and the death of others. He has experienced the joys and heartbreaks of countless lives, each one a thread in the great tapestry of existence. And through it all, Pyrrhus has learned that time is not something to fight against, but something to live within. He may be eternal, but the world around him is not. The people he meets, the places he visits, the relationships he forms, they are all temporary, fleeting. It is this impermanence, this fleeting quality of life, that makes it so beautiful, so precious. Pyrrhus has come to understand that immortality, for all its promises, does not protect him from the inevitability of loss. He will watch people age, he will see them pass on, and he will grieve their absence, just as any mortal would. But unlike those around him, he will not have the luxury of time to heal. He will live on, and in his living, he will carry the memory of all those who have come and gone, those who have touched his life in ways he can never forget. This, Pyrrhus realizes, is the true cost of immortality, the weight of memory, the burden of outliving those he has loved as he stands at the cliff's edge. Pierrot reflects on his long journey, on the countless lessons he has learned over the centuries. He remembers the arrogance of his youth, the desire for power, for glory, for eternal life. He remembers the voices of the gods, the promise of immortality that seemed so alluring, so all-encompassing. But he has learned since then that immortality does not offer the answers to all of life's questions. It does not grant freedom from pain, from loss, from the inevitability of change. What immortality offers is time, a vast, endless expanse of time that stretches on forever, but that, over the course of an eternity, can begin to feel like a prison. Pierrot understands now that immortality is not about living forever. It is about how one lives in the time they are given, how they make meaning from the fleeting moments that come their way. In the distance, Pierrot sees the flickering lights of the village he has visited many times. The people are settling in for the night, the soft glow of lanterns illuminating the streets. He knows the stories of this place, the lives of the people who live there. He knows their joys and their sorrows, their triumphs and their struggles. And he knows that, in time, they will all be gone. He will remain, but they will not. The thought no longer fills him with the emptiness it once did. Instead, it fills him with a sense of purpose, a quiet recognition of the importance of every single life, no matter how brief. Pierrot has come to understand that immortality is not a curse or a gift. It is simply a condition of existence. And in that condition, there is beauty, there is meaning, there is love. As he watches the village below, Pierrot feels the weight of time shift within him. He no longer feels detached from the world. He feels connected to it, as though his endless journey has brought him to a place where he can finally find peace. He may never experience the full arc of a human life, the beginning, the middle, the end, but he has learned to find meaning in the stories of others. He has learned to find joy in their laughter, their struggles, their fleeting moments of happiness. The world is not defined by immortality, by power, by endless existence. It is defined by the connections we make, the love we give, and the moments we cherish. Pierrot smiles softly to himself, the last rays of the sun fading behind the horizon. He has learned what it means to live, truly live, in a world that is always changing, always moving forward. And in that knowledge, he finds peace. As the night sky stretches out before him, Pierrot feels the weight of his immortality settle comfortably within him. No longer a burden, but a part of who he is. The stars twinkle above, eternal and silent, just as he is. But unlike the stars, Pierrot knows that time will continue to move forward, that life will continue to unfold in ways he cannot predict. And yet, he is no longer afraid. He no longer seeks to control time, to escape its grasp. Instead, he is content to watch it unfold, to witness the beauty of a world that is always changing. For Pierrot's immortality is not about living forever. It is about learning to live fully in each moment, to find meaning in the impermanence of life, and to embrace the quiet peace that comes with the acceptance of time's flow. His journey is not over, but Pierrot is no longer searching for an end. He is simply living the journey in all its fleeting, beautiful, and eternal moments.